You should have been sent a link to Yandex. Disk, and then by clicking on this link you will have 45 classes. Also at the end there will be a table of models in which all models are indicated, that is, the number of the lesson, the topic of the lesson, which model is being assembled. The first lesson is aimed at getting to know the designer. From the sixth, we are already getting acquainted with electronics, that is, the motherboard and sensors are already being added. From the ninth lesson, work with the remote control begins. Each time the lesson of the mustache becomes more complicated. A list of all the details, which describes what details you have, and now I will show them to you. The first thing that goes is the shafts, the connecting shaft. The small shaft is 30 mm, the average shaft is 44 mm, and the shaft is 70 mm. You also have a rubber coupling, a plastic sleeve, a small plastic sleeve. It is also called a semi-sleeve, a plastic coupling. It is needed to connect two shafts together. You have a corner, two corners of the position. You need to carefully monitor this. You have a beam. 1 for 5. Named by the number of holes, that is, 1 hole for 5 holes. The beam is 1 for 15, that is, 1 hole for 15 holes, 1 for 11, 1 hole for 11 holes, 1 for 12, 1 hole for 12 holes, 1 for 21, 1 hole for 21 holes. Also go further, blocks of 3, these are connecting blocks. Then comes block 55, 5 holes by 5 holes, block 3 by 5, 3 holes by 5 holes. The mount for the engine. It is necessary to fix the engine. Block 3 by 11, 3 holes by 11, 3 by 21, 5 holes by 11 holes of gray color you have. A red wheel is attached to this wheel attachment unit, only it is attached there, like this. Then you have the frame, small, medium, large, also named by the number of holes, or just call them small, medium and large. You have a large platform. A gray rubber plate is a rubber mat. You have 6 of them in a set. There are also eyes. You can put these eyes on your model and then they will have some kind of spells. Arc. With the help of this arc you can assemble here. With the help of 4 you can assemble one complete circle. Then next come the gears. 4 pieces, a lever, 4 pieces, a case for batteries. 4 pinky batteries are put here and in total do not give 6 volts. This is where you need to work with the entire KID 2 course. Next comes a case for 9-volt AA batteries. There you put 6 finger batteries. There were 4 pinky batteries here, 6 fingers here. This case is needed to work with the track twin board. A gear for 10, that is, 10 teeth is a small gear. Then there is a medium gear for 20 teeth and a large gear for 30 teeth. Next you have a pulley wheel, a small plastic wheel, gears and a pulley wheel, a small wheel, an average wheel. They are connected to the trunks. This is just the same hole under the shaft or under the shaft on the motor. You can use the infrared sensor either as a touch button, put your finger up, it worked, or in models that drive along a black line. Remote control sensor. The remote control sensor is a sensor that works with the remote control, that is, it receives a signal from the remote control. The remote control is a remote control, that is, the sensor of the remote control. With it, you can control your models remotely. Next comes the sound sensor. This is a microphone. The sound sensor is threshold, it says on it. It does not respond to commands, but to the noise level. That is, the louder it is, the more likely it will work. Next you have DC motors. You need DC motors to drive various mechanisms and models of robots. The key. You can use the key to disassemble the models. Next comes the controller with 4 modes. This controller has 3 inputs for sensors, these are both RL and RC, and pages. It turns out the left one, then there is a radio signal, this is a remote control, a pod sensor. That is, you only connect the remote control sensor to this connector. In the left and right connectors, you connect either an infrared sensor or a threshold sound sensor. Also, there are 3 wires on each sensor and you should be able to look at the black wire here, then go red in the middle and connect the white wire here, that is, exactly the same as on this display. Next you have motors. Here you connect the left motor, here you connect the right motor. Red to red, black to black. If you connect the motor incorrectly, it will start working in the opposite direction. If you connect the sensor incorrectly, it will not work at all. The motor will change the side in which it rotates. There are 4 modes here, first, second, third, fourth, and the power button. Power is to turn on the power, supply power to the board. Next, you have a twin track controller. If you have a kid too, if you have a senior, you will not have this board. And a USB cable for the track. If you have a baby, it will be, if you have a senior, you will not have this cable. This is a programmable board, it is used. It connects to the computer via this wire and is programmed in a visual environment. Now let's move on to classes. In each lesson, you will have these 4 files. The first is a scenario point and inspection, in which the name of each slide is spelled out, then what is the purpose of this lesson, what they study in the program of classes is spelled out. It describes all the necessary equipment that you will need. There will also be an organizational moment. This is all that will need to be said for the presentation. That is, you have a text for each slide. Here's to slide 16, to slide 17, and so on. That is, for each slide of registration. Here comes a presentation for you. To this presentation you have all this scenario plan, summary. Here is the text written for each slide that I showed you before. There is also an explanatory note. The topic of the lesson, the goals of the classes, the objectives of the training, the program of the lesson are spelled out here, the stages of training and what is necessary for implementation are spelled out. There is also another presentation for the child. Here it is already step by step how to assemble the structure, that is, step by step. That's what I said, there are corners, corners have their own position, you need to watch this carefully. No more than one step at a time. At the end, when they put it all together, they connect the electronics. Connect the motor to the left connector and connect the batteries to the power connector. And it also spelled out what mode you will need. Now we will start working with electronics. The main component of a moving robot is this motherboard. Nothing will work without it. Here she is needed. There is such a case for batteries. Batteries are placed here. And they put 4 pinky batteries and removed them. And removed it. Everything was closed. Then this pilot has 3 connectors for sensors. On the left, an infrared sensor is connected to the right, in the middle you connect only the remote control sensor. Here you connect the motors to the left and right connectors, here they are here. Red on top, black on the bottom. Or you can, if you swap their contacts, that is, the red one will be at the bottom and the black one on top, then you will just have the motor spinning in the other direction. Now let's take the motors. You have them looking like this, like this. Most often, if you have a new set, they will look like this. They can be disconnected, and they need to be disconnected. And this, as I said, connects to these 2 connectors. The left connector and the right connector. Here is a battery case connected from below. When you turn on, the LEDs should flash 3-4, that's turned on 3-4 blinks. These motors will work without sensors, only in mode 2, but now, so that it's clear and visible, I'll put the gears to you so that it can be seen on the camera that they are spinning and the wheel. Everything I have set can be shown. Here is the second mode, here is the third one. You can notice that this will turns first in one direction, then in the other, and this is just with statements in the same direction. Now let's move on to the infrared sensor. Like this. There are two light bulbs. One LED is a transparent light bulb, it emits infrared light. The other is black, it accepts reflected light. This sensor is connected, as I said, to the left connector, or to the right. Well, now we will show everything on the left connector. We remove the first mode. When we raise and release the finger, it works for us. That is, if we just keep it, it won't work. You need to bring your finger up and remove it, or bring it to something light and put it away. In the same way, it can be some kind of yellow block, turquoise block. But he won't do that with the black block. That is, if on a black surface, here it does not work, no matter how we try. And there is a fourth mode for the infrared sensor, on the fourth mode it will also work. We remove mode 4, bring up the finger, it stops. We bring it to the light, it stops. We bring it to the red, it stops. We bring it to the black one, it continues to work further. Here, we bring it to the white one, it stops. And there is a second mode. Here, on the contrary, we bring it to the white, it works. That's what it won't work on, the black color. Try the same thing. That's it. To change the mode, you need to turn off and turn on the board. That is, turned off, turned on, pressed 1. Turned off, turned on, pressed 4. Turned off, turned on, pressed 2. And now we will work with the sound sensor. Here is the threshold sound sensor. It looks like this, and that's exactly the same in the left connector. We connect the motor and select the first mode. When it's loud, the motor will start spinning. You can also just hit it on the fingers, it will work. You can also check the same sensor in the second mode. He will only stop when we are talking. The fourth mode, on the contrary, will work only at the moment when we gave the signal. That is, when it works noisily. We all have a steady job when it was noisy for that. The next sensor is the remote control sensor. That's it. Now we will connect both motors with you. On one there will be a wheel, on the other there will be a gear. Everything is connected, we turn on our board. Next we need a remote control, you need to put a battery in it. That is, here we put one battery and put two batteries. That's it, and close it. That's it, they closed it. And to work with this remote control, you will need this remote control sensor. And we plug it into the middle connector. This sensor only works in the middle connector. That's it, connected, installed. That's it, there is. Now it will work with this sensor only in the fourth mode. Look, I'm pushing forward, the main thing is that this sensor looks. This remote was looking at this sensor. That is, if you take him down a lot somewhere, then he will stop working for you. Here I put it under steam, then it doesn't work. I point at this sensor, it works. What needs to be done? You need to push them forward. Open wheels to go back and forth, back. Push to the left, one wheel in one direction, to the right, one wheel in one direction, the second in the other direction. Press forward and to the right, one wheel turns. Forward left, second. Back and right, left in the same way, one wheel, back and right, the second. There is also a CF 1, 2, 3, 4. EF5, EF6 won't work for you. Press 1, 3 EF5. 1 and 2. Then it will work with this remote control. Here you see, I push back and forth, the wheel rolls in one direction and in the other. Next, I'll show you about the features of these blocks, that is, they have a different number of connectors on the one hand, on the other. On the one hand it is even, on the other hand it is odd. Left, right, top, bottom. Here it turns out if we connect. What does this affect? If we want to connect several blocks and do it incorrectly, we may not succeed. That is, you see, we already have an unevenness, such a transition. Similarly, if we put the wrong number on top, that is, it will not match. For example, on one side we will put an even one, on this side an odd one. If we connect it like this, it will be uneven. That is, we will initially be able to connect, but it will be so uneven. Let's now connect several blocks together using adapters. Blocks of 3 and 4. Here we take this turquoise block of 4 and connect it. 1. Here, if we connect like this, it will not work, we need to turn it over. That's it, it worked out. And now we will do exactly the same. We will put the same block of 4 on the other side. That's it, now he's holding on tight enough. If we want to further strengthen the structure, we can put a frame. One frame in the bedroom and 2 frames on the other side. It's still getting stronger. And you can also add 2 blocks. So, well, in our case, I was knitting her frames now. This is a fairly strong structure. There is a special key to disconnect the blocks from each other. That is, if the guys do not have enough strength, there is such a key block with which we can disconnect bolts and beams. Here we need to put a key like this. Now let's take the key like this between the connector and the block and pull it up like a lever. Once removed. That's where he started filming a little bit. You can either pry it from the other side, or from inside. That is, here we put it and raise it in the same way. We are lifting, we have lifted. Here. Then next we can remove these blocks and 4. There is a gap on one side, we put a key in this gap and lift it. Everything on one side has risen, now we do the same on the other side, so we can use the other side, that is, we put it like this, we lift it. Here it will be more convenient for us to pull up from this side. On the other hand, it will be convenient for us to pry like this with a key. That's it. Frames. The frames can be removed with a key. We put it on. So let's lift it up. 1 and 2. So let's take the gray block 5 by 11. It has big holes. You can insert a shaft into these large holes. Here is the shaft you put in this big hole and connect. Now we will assemble a small circuit with a gear ratio. That is, so that the motor turns and it is easier for him. That is, if you have a large model, or some kind of loading crane to make it easier for him to lift all this, you need to put a small gear on this shaft. Now I will find and put here, they have put here a small gear. That's how it should work out for you. Then you need to take another shaft. We take another shaft and already a big gear. A large gear was put into it by the shaft. Everything is worth it. And we need to connect them. That's connected. Can be on top for more. For greater stability to the structure, put a red bushing, and you need to put both white and red at the back. Why do I need to put a white and a red one in the back? Because if you just put a red one, because of the friction force, your shaft will stop, it will be harder for him. Therefore, you need to put the red tube first, and then Oh, first the white one, then the red one. I put the white one. It's plastic. Here is plastic on plastic goes well, without resistance. I put a rubber one, it will already go with a lot of resistance. If I just put it down, it would be more difficult. Let's see now how the wheel will spin if we put it here. Unscrewed. We put the wheel. We take the board, plug it into one of the connectors, connect the case with batteries and select the second mode. Here you can see that it started spinning slowly. Now I will show the same thing, only without this shaft, that is, I will directly connect this wheel to the motor. In the same way, you can use a gear to remove this gear with a key. Here you put it under the bottom and pass it through, and just like that, you press it in the same way. That's it, we put the wheel and remove the second mode. See, it's already spinning faster. That is, before that, we put a small gear and it connected to the big one, like this. Our speed increases. The speed decreases 3 times, that is, it is 3 times slower, but the force increases. This is necessary just for such lifting mechanisms, where strength is important, but speed is not important. It turns out that 1 circle of this little gear is equal to 1/3 of the circle of the big gear. Well, either 3 circles of a small one is equal to 1 circle of a large gear. Let's put it on now. Ah, that's how they inserted it. Let's do the opposite. So we'll put a big gear on the motor, and we'll put a small gear on the shaft. And we will see that our speed increases. On the contrary. It will increase, but our strength will decrease. Here we turn on, remove the second mode. Here. It should be clearly visible on the camera that compared to the design, which was on the contrary, it is now spinning much faster. But she has no strength at all. Let's disconnect it with the help of keys, but this wheel is possible without a key, it is easy to get. Then the shaft with the couplings can also be removed without a key, but this gear will already need a key in my case to detach it. That is, it should be evenly distributed from all sides. We do not apply much force. That's it, they took it off. That is, we just do such movements around the circle. So. Okay, it's here too. Next. Let's detach our motor from this one now. From this block, which is using a key. We put the key here, it is not put here, so we put it on this side. And on the one hand we are doing it, but I have already lost it very much. I can go on without a key, but just in case I do it with a key, that's it. Disconnected. The next thing I'll show you is to add stability to this structure so that the motor, if your motor does not sit well, you can connect it like this and put a mount under the motor. That is, these holes here should connect to these connectors that are on the block. But the middle row should, here is a large hole, should connect to the shaft. That's how you connect them, that's it. It's all sitting much tighter for you. In the same way, it is necessary to disassemble this very moment with the help of a key. That is, one or two fakes, but I have already connected everything to the end. It's exactly the same here. And here, in order to disconnect it, you need to put the drum back with this part. That is, we pull it down like this. He's connected with us. Next, I want to show you this corner here. You see there is an arrow at the corner. This arrow should be on the block. But most of the time you need to look at the assembly map rather. Here I just know how it will be. The arrow looks here at this block, and the frame or other block that you will connect to this structure should look at it like this long arrow. Here. That is, they put it there, everything, it's standing, it's connected. Removed. Well, it is also clear here that they have no distance. They seem to be in the same plane. This is the face of the block and this corner. Now I'm going to take off this corner and leave it on the other side. That is, the wrong one. Here comes the wrong side. If I try to connect it, it will not connect with me. That is, no matter how much I press here, whatever I do, it does not connect. Children may say that we can't assemble it, but they have put this corner wrong. It just becomes a corner, and if the corner is both a beam and a block, then it no longer becomes, that is, it does not connect. And in the same way it is clear that there is already a difference in distances. They are not on the same plane, but they are slightly different from each other. These arcs are connected like this by 3 or 4 and it turns out such a full-fledged circle, as I have already said. That's it, here it is. There are also eyes. You can add eyes and you will already get something similar to a man, but your design will already have decorations. That is, once we clean everything up. It all needs to be removed and we move on to the wheel here. Let's take the block under the wheel and the cool wheel itself. We put. That's it, they're spinning. It's spinning. Next, let's look at the pulley wheel here. It is divided into 2 parts. You can put a thread here. Here they separate it into 2 parts, put a thread. We put it carefully, we connect everything that is. And you can use this wheel to make a crane. Rubber mats, they are needed most often for decoration. Here they are. That's how they look. And there are also those gears for 6 soups, I'll show you now, but they only connect to each other. Now let's take a gear like this, it has 6 teeth. We will put it and take another gear of the same kind, also on 6 teeth, we will also put it on the shaft, so we start turning one, the second begins to spin. But that's not all it can do, it can still transfer mechanical energy to another plane, that is, make it rotate 90 degrees. To do this, you will need to put a bushing such a semi-bushing, not enough. Well, a half sleeve or a small sleeve. It turns out to be put here, we put this one here with this semi-sleeve, we put it on a gray block, and here is a gear that we just brazenly put it directly here, on this turquoise block. And we connect these blocks together. Now I'm going to start spinning this one, and the second one is already starting to spin. In the same way, you can sort it all out with a key. We put the key here and lift it, we get it, we get it. Also those who have a kid project. Be sure to watch the video, which will also be coming soon. This is according to Neuro. There I will show at the beginning how to work with sensors from the KID project, or there will be a separate video on the operation of the KID 2 board with sensors from the KID Pro collection set.